say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body. Because I am more than physical matter, I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world. I deeply desire to expand, to experience, to know, to understand, to control, to use such greater energies and energy systems as may be beneficial and constructive to me and to those who follow me. I deeply desire the help and cooperation, the assistance, the understanding of those individuals whose wisdom, development, and experience are equal to or greater than my own. I ask their guidance and protection from any influence or any source that might provide me with less than my stated desires.
Do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. Do not claim to know the ultimate truth about fire. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family amongst lords of consciousness. I am the void one.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
All broadcasting live from a shack on a hill in the Mossy Creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. This is Lighting the Void, live on YouTube. And we're back. It is Wednesday night, March the 5th. And what we're gonna do is this week we're gonna ask some tough questions when it comes to consciousness. I know that we like to talk about stuff that is super metaphysical and cool, but we should really ask ourselves some tough questions here about it. Like, if we want to get down to the truth, we got to ask some tough questions. So, here we go. First, I want to say thanks for joining us tonight, wherever you're listening from. And I don't know what this is, but like, so I don't know if this ever happens to you, but do you ever like not do something for somebody and you don't mean to do it, right? But it happens so often that it looks like it's on purpose. And you know, from that other person's point of view, it probably looks like it's on purpose and it's not. And you're like, that happens. So I want to give a big special shout out to Dan Beard. Okay. And I'll tell you why, just before we start the show. So Dan has joined the members site. He's ordered something that I've had to purposely buy myself 2 or 3 times to try to get it to Australia. I think Sudi's still waiting on hers too. I'm trying to get stuff to Australia. And 3 times he's donated and I didn't see it. Like, it went through, I didn't see it. And then so I made new, and all this stuff happens in a row, right? And so then I made new thank you sheets for the show. So thank you to the people that have helped the show. And I double checked like 4 or 5 times. And then I realized as I fell asleep last night, I didn't put Dan Beard's name up there. And I'm not doing this on purpose. So I don't know what it is, Dan, but I want to tell you that I love you, dude. You're a part of it all too. So I'll fix that sheet. All right. Big special shout out to Dan. Okay. So I've been thinking, right, about this consciousness thing. And I get messages from people all the time too that try to tell me, well, you shouldn't be living this way. You shouldn't be doing that. Like, just, I do stuff because I want to do it. I mean, isn't that why you do stuff? Stop worrying about me. Jesus. So, but I did think last night when we were talking about Thomas Campbell, I did a thing. I tried the hypnagogic thing. Okay. So I stayed up with Bryce. We played some Warzone and zombies and stuff. And then I went and kind of sat on the couch for a minute, and I shut my eyes thinking, all right, I'm going to get into hypnagogia. And as I started slipping, I seen this like just sunlight, and all it was sunlight, and it was blinding. And then I don't remember anything, nothing. What's that about, right? So I started thinking, is consciousness like a quantum trick, or is it like a superpower? Hear me out. So what if the secret to consciousness isn't just in your brain alone? We already discussed that, but in tiny quantum little bitty dances. So we like to talk about this stuff here on Lighting the Void. It's kind of deep, but it's fun. And we're cracking open new 2024 research because we're just into 2025 that says that anesthesia might flip a quantum switch to turn your mind off. Now, if anybody's had surgery, they've been under anesthesia. I started thinking about this too because last night we were talking about the sleep spindles and how it shows the little spikes and frequencies of consciousness, like the lights are on. So let's start with how knocking you out for surgery, which I'm still afraid of today. I don't know what levels you're afraid of it, but I always get scared during surgery. But how knocking you out for surgery reveals consciousness clues. Okay. Then that kind of makes me wonder, is consciousness like a team player or is it a loner thing? You know, I've been under anesthesia, and every single time I've had surgery, it feels like I just blinked out. Sometimes I don't even remember passing out. And then I wake up and it's hours later or however long. So I've had surgery on, I'm sure we've all had surgeries, but I've had surgery on my appendix, my gallbladder. I've had my stomach scoped too, where they stick a camera down in your stomach, that kind of thing. So I've had a few surgeries, and every time I've had them, it's like a nothing. Time just kind of, it's just, I went to sleep and I woke up. I mean, look, this is a question we should be asking. I mean, it just felt like I blinked and woke up. Let's try to find out. Where did we go? Where did I go? Where did you go during that surgery? I wonder sometimes, really. So I looked at some more research. I have to do this because they do studies on this stuff, okay? So there was a study from Wesley College, or Wellesley, not Wesley, and they reported this. They found that anesthetics like propofol, which is in anesthesia, might mess with quantum effects and microtubules. Now remember, microtubules is a materialist kind of viewpoint of how consciousness works. But also remember that Richard Alan Miller was talking about microtubules a long time ago. These are just tiny tubes in your brain cells, by the way. So when they bind, brain activity slows. And then you're out. You're out cold. So think of microtubules as, I said this last night, but it's another good analogy, okay? So think of microtubules as the brain's kind of like power lines, okay? Anesthesia might scramble their quantum signals, like kind of mess up the radio signal, so to speak. Those kind of weird subatomic vibes, and that's why you don't dream or feel pain. If you really think about it, it's not just chemical, it's kind of physics. But we don't want to get into it that deep, so. This kind of backs a wild idea, though, doesn't it? This quantum field might need some kind of, not this quantum field, but I don't want to go off on a weird tangent, but consciousness might need some kind of quantum magic to work. Yeah? So what I mean is like, in order for us to be conscious, there might need to be some kind of weird magic thing to work, not just like neurons firing. When neurons, because that's what neurologists say. You guys watch that podcast with that Kevin guy, the neurologist? That's what they say. When neurons fire, everything's working. That's how we know we're conscious. But when you look at the microtubule thing and what happens when we get knocked out, it almost makes you wonder, like, where did we go? Where did consciousness go? I know every one of you have thought about this, because I have. It kind of freaks me out, like what the hell's going on? So if you've all woken up from surgery, people act different. But as soon as you wake up, it's like you have no sense of time. You have no sense of reality for a second. And then it all just comes back so fast. It does for me, unless, you still have that like floaty feeling when you're on anesthesia and stuff, but everything starts coming back. So did our consciousness pause? Or did it go away? Was it still there? Where the hell did it go? That's what I wonder. So, where did it go? AR says, we're always awake. The body falls asleep, but consciousness never sleeps. We just may not remember where consciousness traveled. See, that's kind of what I was thinking, but I still wonder if it like shuts off. Because if we traveled somewhere, I've remembered stuff from deep sleeps, all kinds of things, even being drunk. I think I've been blackout drunk like once in my life, maybe. But I still remember stuff from being drunk. The only time that I didn't remember anything is one time I drank a little and took some Xanax. I think I was like 19 or 20, and I woke up in one of my best friend's sister's beds, and the last thing I remember was like 3 days before. So where did I go, right? When we take in these chemicals, our consciousness goes somewhere, but we don't. I didn't remember anything. Don't remember how I got there. All of my friends said that I was like climbing on the roof of the car while it was going down the road, doing all kinds of stupid stuff. Now I was a kid. I was an idiot back then, but like I was doing stupid stuff. My body just kind of did its own thing, and my consciousness don't remember it. Just like anesthesia, when they knock you out, if you go somewhere, why can't you remember it? Even people say that when they smoke weed, they're like, I don't dream when I smoke. Well, you kind of do. And when you wake up, most of the time, you kind of have this foggy remembrance of, I did something. But anesthesia, though, it's like nothingness, nothing. So anyways, I guess what am I trying to say? What if your consciousness didn't just pause? And this is just a theory that let's say it took a pause for a second. Okay. And what if it like jumped somewhere else? And if you guys want to message, you can message me, or you can also call in at 501-777-5631. I actually, last night, we did the throwback, so I didn't have the phones up, but I got the phones up tonight. All of you, somebody here has got a weird anesthesia story. I mean, did you feel gone? Because I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel gone. I didn't feel present. But some people, I've heard people say they felt gone, or they just felt blank. It's really weird. So, I do remember when I had to have my appendix removed. That was kind of scary. I was in my early 20s. I wasn't thinking about consciousness then. I wasn't thinking about any of that stuff. All I remember is that I had a bad stomach ache. That's all I remember. It's like my stomach is hurting. And my wife at the time, was like, I was trying to do anything to get some empathy from her. I was like, Carla, Jesus, my stomach is killing me, man. I got to do something, And, when you're young, I grew up in a real tough environment. So you got to be tough all the time, especially if you're going to do dumb stuff. And back then I was really dumb, so I had to be tough. And she looked at me and she's like, it's probably just gas or something. Just go back to sleep. I knew something wasn't right. See, at that point, I was in my body. I was conscious. I was aware of everything that was going on. I went to the hospital the next day. And when I went to the hospital, they ran all these tests. They made me drink this stuff. They put me in a tube, x-rayed me. It was a big pain in the ass, and it was a big bill, too. I remember that. And then I left the hospital because I got tired of waiting on the results. And then they called me. They said, come back. You need to come back right now. And I was like, why? They said, well, you could die. Your appendix could burst and you could die. So I had to drive back to the hospital. I got back to the hospital, went under surgery. And the only thing I remember is when I was laying in the bed, I was like, okay, they got this thing in my pee-pee. They're probably going to see me naked. And I hope I don't die during surgery. That's what I was thinking about. Okay. And when they gave me the drug or whatever, I kind of felt a little burn. I remember that. And then I remember them telling me to count or whatever. And as soon as I started counting, they put a mask on me, and that's it. My head felt kind of like fuzzy or like this kind of weird burning feeling. And that's it. I just remember like time stopped. And I know people are saying, well, you went somewhere. Your consciousness went somewhere. But here's the thing. Like, I know what it feels like when my consciousness is out to play. Anesthesia is a whole different kind of thing. It's a whole different kind of disappearance, you know. Sudi says, I know a guy who went into the void during anesthesia, but he basically kind of died temporarily. Definitely was the void, though, from how he described it. Well, I would like to hear that story. You know, so if we don't go, you remember when I was talking about the spindles thing or whatever? They don't measure this stuff when you're under anesthesia. They just look at your vital signs. I had a friend of mine that was a friend to an anesthesia, not a friend, but an assistant to an anesthesiologist. And that's all he told me. They just watch you, keep you from dying. They keep you alive. So your body's, without them there, your body's like on the edge of death, you know? So what I'm thinking is you remember what Thomas was talking about when he said, so you have these particles or this light particle or whatever, and how entanglement works is how two particles can be connected at long distances. They've even done experiments where, let's say you have like A, B, and C particle, and they're entangled, okay? And they tried to destroy particle C, right? So when they destroy particle C, it just ends up beeping over here, like beep, beep, beep. I'm just using the beeping as an example. So they destroy it again, and now it's beeping over here. That's kind of what I think how consciousness works. But when you're not in your body, when you're like your body shuts off, where do we go? Why don't we remember it? Look, even when I don't, here's what I'm saying. Even when I don't dream, or I think that I don't dream, I still, when I wake up, I know that, man, I went somewhere and I came back. I did something. I just can't remember what it is. Like, I know that. I feel that. But not during anesthesia. That's the weird thing about it. So we'll get into this study a little bit deeper tonight. This study from Wellesley College. They did a report in Science Daily, and they actually titled it that researchers found that anesthetics like propofol might mess with quantum effects in microtubules. Tiny tubes in your brain cells, right? This stuff just wigs me out. I got to be honest with you. A lot of the stuff that I've talked about on the show is stuff that, because I've had a fear of it. It's fears. Like, that's what Lighting the Void is about going into the void. It's fears that I've had to face. Okay. So one of the biggest reasons why I'm fascinated with consciousness, and I'm just going to be 100% square with you, is the mystery of it. Like it is the unknown. It is the ultimate unknown. We don't have solid proof about where consciousness goes after we die, but we have enough evidence, like Thomas Campbell was talking about, to show us that it goes somewhere. It definitely goes somewhere when we go out of body. We've had enough people that have had NDE experiences that have reported to doctors. There's been whole books written and doctors saying all this crazy stuff. So there's enough evidence to show us that some of us, maybe not all of us, but some of us go somewhere when this stuff happens. So no one ever talks about anesthesia, though. Not much. No one ever talks about the experiences they've had when they're in surgery. And the only experiences that I know of are the ones I've had and the ones that my friends have talked to me about. And it's been nothingness, just time, just shutting off, you know. So, oh man, I don't do this in a while. I need to say hi to everybody in the chat. Sudie, what's up, Sudie? What's up, Sir Wolf? What's up, Christy? Christy finally found the Discord. What's up, Will C? How you doing, man? What's up, AR? Interesting stuff. So AR is saying the brain retains immediate memory like an auxiliary battery to aid in maintaining life symmetry. Cosmic or collective consciousness is the big pull we all subsist on. The human brain isn't sufficiently developed to handle psychic realm interactions, hence the inability to retain memory of such interactions. Yeah, that sounds really good, though, what you're saying. And intuitively, you might be right. But is there any real evidence that you're right? I feel like you're right when I hear you say that, but is there any real like evidence that you are? So here's the thing. When you wake up from surgery, a lot of people have no sense of time. And I wonder if your consciousness didn't just pause, but did it jump somewhere, just like the particles do? Not like this floaty feeling that we have in dreams, but like once they shut it off, did it just jump somewhere, you know? And what I'm thinking is that anesthesia itself kind of hints to us. This is going to be despite everything I've ever said up to this point. But anesthesia might hint to us that consciousness could be quantum powered. And it could be also, according to some materialists, a survival trick for us. Is it just a survival trick? I wonder, for us social apes. That's what they say. It's just a survival trick, right? I don't know if I believe in all that, though. Honestly, I think that it does go somewhere, but I think what most people fear is losing their individuality. Right? So I'm Joe. You're, who am I talking to tonight, right? You're Sudie, you're Bob, you're whoever, you're AR, you're Christy. But when you go into anesthesia, I wonder if what they're doing actually shuts off that whole thing. Just, and you're actually in the quantum soup, you know. Because when we die, when we have NDEs, when we have out-of-body experiences, we go through a process. We go through a process of this etheric double because we're still kind of hanging on to the body, or we're trying to come back to the body. But they found things like for the anesthesia, man, that just shuts everything off. It just keeps you like in a coma, so to speak. I don't want to say a coma, but you know. But it does seem like anesthesia might kind of flip a weird consciousness switch. So new research says your mind evolves to keep your tribe alive, not just you two. And so we already know that, though. But in August 2024, there was a study from SciPost, and these scientists are arguing that consciousness isn't just for your survival. And that's what most neuroscientists and most people, materialists, think, that that's all it's for. Consciousness is just there to help you survive. That's it. It's not even a metaphysical thing. It's a survival tool, you know. But now they're arguing that it's like a social glue, and that it's evolving so that we could reach each other, talk and team up and things like that. We were very tribal in the beginning against things like dinosaurs or saber-toothed cats or whatever. We would tribe up. But now it's obvious that our consciousness likes to be tribal. It likes to get together. It likes to come together and do these things. That's a little bit of evidence of how quantum fields work. Everything in nature works that way. Cells work that way. They group together and they do things and they create, make things and communicate, you know. So picture this. So your brain kind of lights up to feel what I'm feeling. It's why we cry at movies or we laugh together. It's like a superpower for connection, if you think about it, not just thinking, even though it seems like that's all it's for, is thinking, but it could be like some kind of quantum superpower. So when you have like this subjective awareness situation where you're kind of saying, well, I'm feeling this way or I'm feeling that way, that might have grown from needing to sync with the group, not just to dodge predators alone or to get your feelings validated. The whole point of us having feelings and how it's attached to a thought, you know how you can, so let's just as an example, you can have a thought and then you have a feeling after the thought. And a lot of people aren't even aware that they have this feeling after the thought. They just say, oh, I'm feeling this way, but they don't know there's something that triggered that feeling, right? Most of us know that, but some people don't. But that feeling is the thing that's actually bringing the tribe together. I hope I'm making sense. And if you look at like how quick, then it makes perfect sense. That's kind of what the whole purpose of emotion is. An emotion tells a deeper truth about something that helps us connect to each other or disconnect from each other, but it's there to connect. So this is all subjective awareness stuff, though. So the real question is then, once you look at all this stuff, this is the kind of stuff, man, I think about in the shower. All right, my brain goes all over the place. Is your consciousness really yours? Or is it a gift from everybody around you? Now, if you notice how like a lot of people when they get isolated, there's been real studies on this too. You can tell me, oh, I love being alone and da-da-da. Okay, whatever. But then you go, most of those people, they surround themselves with animals and all kinds of stuff. So it's pretty clear that you're not meant to just be alone in some place surrounded by trees and rocks. You'll go crazy if you don't have something to connect to, okay? Whether it be animals, fish, or, you know, if you watch Castaway and you don't have any of that, then you start making up imaginary friends to talk to. It's the same way cells work and everything works. It's the same way the quantum field works. You're designed to connect, right? So ask yourself, is your consciousness really yours? Like, is it yours, and that's it? It actually, I really started thinking about this. It could be a gift from everybody around you. This is why you can feel somebody's vibes without them even speaking a word. It's a rare thing when if you meet people and they don't talk and then you feel their vibe. Usually when you meet somebody new, you can hear everybody talking. But there are times if you pay really close attention, you could just feel somebody's vibe without talking to them. You can just feel it. So I love those moments, by the way. So also, like, if you when's the time you just knew someone, what somebody else was thinking? I know that's happened to you. You just knew what they were thinking. They didn't have to say anything. You just knew. Now I'm trying to put all this stuff together. When I look into Carl Jung's work, Carl Jung talked about the true self. And most of the suffering that gets caused, this is psychological, doesn't really have anything to do with the brain, but just hear me out. So most of the suffering that is caused in our life has to do with not owning up to our true self, not fulfilling the desires of our true self, not doing the things that you want to do deep in your heart, not being the person that you want to be deep inside your heart. Anytime, if you really look at it, anytime you feel misery, you're not doing or being that person. Most of the time, that's the base cause of it. Either you're more worried about what everybody thinks, or you're trying to live up to somebody else's thing, or you're having thoughts in your head saying, well, maybe I should do this because this is the rule set, but your heart's telling you something different. Now, you do have emotions when it comes to that stuff too, but every time you have an emotion about being your true, authentic self, the second thing that happens, or the thing that happens right along with it, is a validation need, right? So you need to be validated by someone else that thinks and feels and understands the way you do. And nowadays, since we can't find it through a lot of people, we doom scroll until we find a YouTube video that agrees with all of that stuff I just said. And if it doesn't, we just flick away from it. To me, this is still the need of a mirror connection. Like, how would you know what your true self is if it wasn't for the connection to everybody else? Let's say you were born on a planet that had no other humans on it, a baby, and I don't know how you would have survived, but let's just say by some miracle you survived babyhood into your adulthood, but there are no other humans around, which is almost impossible, probably impossible. But now there's no one to connect to. So how do you know anything about yourself? What do you know about yourself? Well, you know basic things like this is pain, this sunlight is warm. You'd have to come up with your own words. You'd have to come up with your own definitions to things. You'd have to create your own language. You probably wouldn't even know what speech was. You'd just know noises came out of your mouth. You wouldn't know what anything you were looking at, what it's called, so you would probably make up your own grunt words for it. You have nothing to relate to so that feeling inside you can be a reflected truth. Think about it. Everybody, and I have too. I'm not, it's a good thing that we can change our mind as we go down this road, okay, of growth and conscious exploration. But it's been one hell of a road when it comes to the individual, the rugged individual, or being authentic, which is important. But how would you know what authenticity is, what your true self is, who you truly are, without other people, without other forms of consciousness around you to relate to? How would you define anything about existence, or especially yourself? You wouldn't be able to. You'd probably just do the basic body things like, well, I found if I put this in my mouth and it goes into probably on the earth to feel better, to survive, but you still wouldn't know how to define anything about anything. You would have to create all the definitions, all the names for all the animals, all that stuff, which when you read religion, they say God did all this. But what is God? God is consciousness. God is everything, all things. It's bigger than us, but it is us. We're the soup of it, right? So it's like this, it's a weird paradox that I was thinking about. I was like, all right, well, I got deep into Jung's work. I'm looking at what the neuroscientists are saying. I'm looking at what the scientists are saying about consciousness. And then I started thinking about anesthesia. And anesthesia seems like it's just, you're gone. So consciousness is a field. It's like the only thing that makes sense to me now is that it's a field. When we get in these bodies are just like, they're just avatars for experience. That's all they are. They're just avatars for the consciousness to experience and play a role as if we're an individual. And it's up to us to have whatever experience we want to have. But without the others, without the rest of consciousness to be there, you have to think how fucking boring that would be. What if you're all things? There's nothing to relate to. There's nothing to define. And you just kind of know that you're everything or you're the soup. What would you do? You know, you have this like natural way of like creating things. In fact, you could give yourself anesthesia and forget who you are and put yourself down into these beings on earth and billions of different people, and then divide yourself up and play all these different characters to kind of figure yourself out, because you have nothing else to relate to. You are everything. And it's the same way when you're down here as an individual. To be like a true, authentic person, to be true to yourself, you have to be able to define yourself by using your emotions that you feel, which is a thing that connects us to consciousness and to the truth and to the deeper parts of us. And you have to be able to relate and communicate to the rest of consciousness that's around you. So back to that question, is consciousness really yours? You know, we remember when we were talking about enlightenment, right? And we say, well, what is enlightenment? Who's enlightened? How do we measure enlightenment? Right. Well, how do we, how do we measure that? I think we can measure enlightenment by the awareness of knowing what consciousness fundamentally is without being able to define it scientifically or materially. Like, I know my name is Joseph Daniel Roop. That's my name. That's my avatar here. But when I was listening to Carl Jung's audiobook about what causes, so he was talking about what causes misery. And I have ADD, so I think two thoughts at the same time. One part of my brain's thinking about anesthesia and where the hell did I go when all this stuff cut off? And the other part of my brain is thinking about Carl Jung's talk about the authentic self, this idea to individuate, which is almost like a paradox, just like science and religion, just like right brain and left brain, individuation and the collective, consciousness as a whole, consciousness as an individual, being true to yourself and being true to everyone else. Or the paradox would also be being true to yourself and being false to the collective. And that's what we kind of feel like sometimes, right? Well, if I'm really authentic, if I did what I really wanted to do in my heart, if I acted and behaved and went after exactly what my heart truly desires, it would separate me from consciousness, and I wouldn't relate, and these people wouldn't validate me, and I would just feel like an outcast. Matter of fact, I feel like an outcast. I feel like I don't belong here. Now we're searching on YouTube and everywhere else, trying to figure stuff out, trying to find other people to guide us, right? We're trying to look into the collective to help us find who we truly are, if you think about it. It's a very weird thing. And reality is kind of like a paradox in that sense. And I thought about all of this stuff because I heard a neurologist say that consciousness was a survival hack. Like it was just there for survival. But that runs directly against every experience I've ever had with the collective, okay? So the big question here is your consciousness, your thoughts, all of that stuff really yours? Not when I mean yours, I mean you as this human, as Sudi or AR or Christy. Is your consciousness really yours? Does it belong to you? Is it only you? When you get knocked out in anesthesia, if it is a quantum field, And your consciousness is, some people say it's light or whatever. When you're totally out, when you're out of this individual avatar, this game you're playing, you could totally be somewhere else and not even know it. This happened. The reason why I think that that's a thing is because there's been 3 people. We read six books, 6 like classic books about out-of-body experiences and conscious exploration. And a lot of these guys ended up in some other reality, not just on different timelines, but even playing different characters. And they thought and felt that it was so real, it freaked them out. Like they wanted to just get back to where they came from. Other people have smoked salvia and they end up going to other places or realities, and they say they're gone for weeks or months at a time. When we wake up from a dream, we're in one reality, and then we're back into this reality, and we tell ourselves, oh, this is the real reality, that one wasn't. So it's natural, it seems, for our consciousness to jump around like randomly to all these places, just like particles do, like it's all entangled. But what got me thinking about consciousness actually belonging to me, like my individual consciousness, me as JDR, what got me thinking about that was anesthesia. Like the lights literally go out in this body. For sure. But I gotta take a short break here, so I wanna follow up that when we come back. So if consciousness, according to neurologists and like a lot of scientists, they say it might be just a survival hack. So what happens when this quantum idea meets a community? All right. And another thing too is like, is your consciousness, the consciousness you claim to own, is it really yours? Who the hell knows?
Lighting the Void with Joe Roop.
From the afterlife and into your life, this is Art Bell, and you are listening to Joe Roop and Lighting the Void, here on The Fringe FM.
My name is Jake. I'm from Billings, Montana, and I am a Void Walker.
Hey, Joe Roop. Thanks for lighting the void. This is Janine in the bluegrass of Kentucky, and I am a Void Walker.
What's up, guys? This is Damien from San Marcos, Texas, and I'm a Void Walker. I listen to the show to keep myself aligned with the world.
Hi, this is Laura, aka Laura Lavender. I'm from Las Vegas, and I listen to Lighting the Void because it helps me understand some of the strangest experiences I've had. So thanks for all that you do and for always being there for us, Joe.
Have you ever wondered, what do the stars say for me? Or, will the next month or the next year be more favorable? How about, are our two signs compatible? Each month, at the new moon, you can ask these questions live with me, your astrologer psychic, Mary DeCina, along with host of Lighting the Void, Joe Roop. Join us at the new moon for Cosmic Conditions. We look forward to working with your energy.
Every new moon at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on Fringe FM.
This is Malorcas 45, fan of the Fringe FM, challenging everyone to open their mind's eye. Listen to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop to gain precision for your third eye vision.
Bumper stickers are a fun side hustle with low-cost investment that has built-in advertising to attract local customers in parking lots, rallies, gatherings, conventions, venues, and more. You could potentially sell these bumper stickers on consignment to local businesses, tattoo parlors, head shops, or any other independently owned store that might gear toward the fringe. Bumper stickers are great gift-giving ideas for friends and family. Also, a way to wake up your fellow travelers on the path without having to waste energy in tiresome debates. No car? No problem. Bumper stickers will stick to just about anything with a semi-smooth surface. Go to www.justbsme.com and get your bumper stickers today.
Inside my head, there's a little place left for you.
Broadcasting from Forest Tower Studios, all the way from the Deep South. Now, here is your host, Joe Roop.
And all I want is to find out what you're going through. What do I know? Maybe the silence is dangerous.
All right, welcome back to Lighting the Void Radio. Listen, guys, I might have to do something a little different. I figured out how to broadcast to like TikTok and Twitch, and they don't. So Twitch and TikTok, they kind of have a thing where you can play music. It's a little hard to do it on YouTube, but I've always liked the radio style of shows, so I like to play music and take breaks and all that stuff. So I'm not saying we're leaving YouTube. That's unless they make us, and they're not. But I'm thinking about broadcasting also on Twitch and TikTok too. Just saying that might happen. So now things are going to get a little freaky. Okay, so we were just talking about what happens in anesthesia, quantum consciousness, microtubules, all that stuff, the holographic field. Something kind of we were talking about last night, but things can get a little freaky when we start looking into this a little deeper. So we've got quantum consciousness, all right, from anesthesia that shows us some kind of weird connection and disconnection. And then social awareness. Is that the word to use? Social awareness? Yeah, social awareness from evolution. But what if they're really not separate things? What if they're just two sides of the same coin, right? So welcome back to some of you that are just tuning in. Welcome to Lighting the Void. Thanks for joining us. So if microtubules run on quantum rules, I love listening to these guys talk about this stuff, by the way. Microtubules. And if you don't know what those are, just go back and listen to any show I did with Richard Allen Miller, okay? So if microtubules run on quantum rules, then maybe they're also how we tune into each other. Like those interference patterns, the kind of holographic vibes that we get could link my mind to your mind through a universal field. Now, this is a thing that we see in when we study frequencies and sacred geometry and things like that. We see this stuff. But anesthesia, what if anesthesia just like powers it down? Just like a boom, it powers it down. But when it's on, we're all kind of sharing this like quantum network, so to speak. Your joy, my fears, all just kind of like ripples in the same pond, so to speak. This is why we relate to each other when we talk about things that make us happy or things that freak us out, okay? And then there's the thought, too, that like the universe itself might be conscious, and I think that it is. I think everything is alive. It's pretty easy to come to that conclusion, but there's still people, still materialists that don't think that. They think we're alive, and everything else is just some kind of nature program that isn't aware of anything, okay? But if you look at it from a network point of view, we're just nodes in this big quantum brain, right? So this is like, I know you've had these like, whoa moments, right? When like dreaming the same thing as a friend dreams, or could that be a social wiring thing? We call them, like Carl Jung calls them synchronicities or whatever. So yes, I'll give you an example. This happened yesterday. We were talking about spindles, those little frequencies that pop up when people are in a coma, and we were talking about other stuff. And so Sudi was in her car, I guess, and riding down the road and saw a license plate that said Joe 777, which 7 is my numerological number. We all supposedly have one if we use our names or whatever. But now, some people would say that's like psychological pareidoia. Like Sudi wouldn't have even noticed that if she wasn't listening to the show. Matter of fact, she probably would have saw it and not even thought of it. Just kind of like when we buy a certain car or something, like say we buy a red Chevy truck, because we really want one, and then we go down the road, now we see red Chevy trucks everywhere. They were there before, but we didn't notice them until we were focused on them. Now that sounds like a obvious thing, like it's no big deal. It's what people talk about when we discuss metaphysics and synchronicities. They say these things to counter, I guess, or interject the fact that they're synchronicities. However, it doesn't have to be either or, okay? Yes, she probably wouldn't have even noticed that. It probably wouldn't have been a synchronicity at all if she wasn't listening to the show, but she was. And that whoa moment that connects us all is the thing that lights up these little connections between us all. Those are what we call synchronicities. What I'm trying to get people to do is not think so polar about stuff. Like when we go out of body, we use our left brain and right brain, right? Like we do. Especially if we're listening to hemisync tapes, we find a tone that syncs both of the hemispheres together to help us relax and kind of get out of body, and it works. It really works. Well, so anytime we can not be polar, when we can take the left brain and the right brain, okay, like someone saying, oh, that's just psychological pareidolia, and then the right brain says, no, it's a magical synchronicity. We are designed as beings to go, well, it's got to be this one or that one. And the people that believe it's this are stupid. And these people over here go, no, man, it's the people that believe that are stupid. You get what I'm saying? But really, both things are happening. It's designed for all of it to be true. So that thing that connects us, when we have a whoa moment, right? Synchronicities, or people that dream the same dreams, okay? Or when you have a dream and then like you call a friend and they had the same kind of dream, but it was a little different. That's what I'm talking about. That's like this quantum social wiring, so to speak, thing that's going on. And if you have a connection story that's really weird, I'd like to hear it. Because if I don't hear your story, then I got to tell my stories over and over and over again. And that sucks because I need you guys' stories, man, to validate some of this stuff or invalidate them, you know? So the bigger question that I was thinking about, and I know it takes me a long time to get to land the plane, but the bigger question, that the anesthesia thing that was making me think about, all of the holographic universe stuff, the microtubules, it was just making me think about all the stuff. Like, is your consciousness really yours? See, I think that the individual thing is kind of what Thomas Campbell talks about. And it's not just me just saying, well, Thomas Campbell's a smart guy, so I'm just going to, believe him. Well, he is a smart guy, but I really do think that we're just playing this game like an avatar. Like, consciousness is just here to, like Bill Hicks used to say, go on a ride. We're all just on a ride for the experience. And so the things that connect us teach us about us. Okay. Let's go to the chat and look and see what you guys are saying in here. Everyone and everything is influencing everything else. Yes, exactly. I think so. There's still people who think the earth was created in 7 days. If you want a God, you need a devil. Polarity. Yeah, so that the whole God and the devil thing is a massive polarity thing. But if you ever talk to a Christian and you tell them to read the book of Isaiah, where God specifically in that book says, I created evil, light, and dark. So to me, that's just a metaphor or an archetypal thing saying, hey, I created Alpha and Omega, good and evil. He says in Isaiah 45, whatever, I think it's 45:7. I created the light, I created the dark, I created good and evil. I created all these things, the devil. So consciousness is all things, just like you are good and bad too. Even though you don't want to, you like to look at other people's badness, but you don't ever look at yours, or you don't think that you're capable of it. And that's just the polarity in you. It doesn't make you a bad person or even a hypocrite, really. You're just designed that way. Okay. I know some people who are off the deep end with synchronicities. Yeah, some people think everything's a synchronicity, sure. But that just means that their awareness is hanging out in the right brain all the time. That's all. You know, living life by the signs. AR says, in reality, everything and everyone is located within consciousness. It's all consciousness, projecting its ideas within itself. Spooky action at a distance. Yeah, exactly. 100%. I don't even have to talk about it. So you guys understand it then, don't you? So I have to. So, but the bigger question is that to me could be enlightenment, okay? I know it's a weird thing. But when you wake up, when the veil parts, so to speak, you see, it's not like you're actually, unless I'm missing something here, where you walk into a different dimension, but it's just waking up to the fact that you're in a soup. And even if you're religious, even if you like to hang out in the right brain all the time, which is okay, that's okay. I'm having a hard time coming to grasp with it too. You know, I've got friends who don't like the woo, but that's what's in the right brain. But even if you hang out there and you read metaphysical books and religious books, they still say what we're all saying to each other right now. I'm you and you are me. Treat each other the way you want to be treated. Let's grow together. Let's evolve. Thomas Campbell talks about it in his big theory of everything. How can I help? Right? Because we're trying to grow and evolve. Because I think consciousness is trying to understand itself. Of course, I missed a call. Who called? I'm just going to call you back because I can't figure out how to get this thing to ring. It'll ring when I call, though. But that's exactly what I think. It looks like 32 area code is calling, so I'm gonna call you back and see if you'll pick up. What's up, man? I don't know why, dude. I cannot get this thing to ring. Like, I've changed the settings on it 1,000 times, dude, and it doesn't ring, you know?
Unconscious there.
You have some thoughts on the unconscious? What are they?
Well, what does it mean to be unconscious?
Exactly. Like when you're in anesthesia, what does it mean to be unconscious?
Well, the anesthesiologist part was they just figured out a way to disconnect pain from the brain.
Yeah, but you're also taking a dirt nap too, though.
Well, yeah, but you think about it like if somebody hit you so hard in the head that you black out. So what does that mean?
I've been knocked out before. Actually, I've been knocked out before where I was snoring. I got hit so hard I was snoring like I would if I was asleep. You know, and I don't remember anything. I actually, to be honest with you, when I woke up from being knocked out, I felt great. I felt refreshed.
Well, that's sort of sadistic, though.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't. It doesn't mean I want people to go around beating me and knocking me in the head. I'm just telling you, I felt good.
No, I understand. I just was giving you a hard time.
Sure. Have you had surgery before, though? Have you been under anesthesia?
Yeah, I have.
Do you remember anything? Anything?
No, I don't. But on the other side, that I can't remember the name of it, but that drug you were talking about, that
propofol.
Yeah, I had a friend that when they put him in what is that called? Whether they induced coma.
Yeah.
And he swears that the whole time, he said it was just freaking horrible. He was dreaming the whole time. They told him that he wouldn't remember anything, but he was locked in this dream that he couldn't wake up from.
Damn, that's scary, dude.
And, yep, and he was in it for over 2 weeks. And but also at the same time, he said besides being locked in that dream, that he went and talked to his dead father.
Really?
And he hangs on to that to this day. And he was supposed to die, but he didn't. And he woke up from that, and he's still around here today.
Yeah, that's like that guy Mark I've been trying to get on the show. Like, he's so freaked out because he said, you remember I told you about him, right? Like, he got shot 8 times. He just lives right up the road from me. And he slipped out of body. He said he talked to people. He said he could see, like, people going in and out of their bodies in the hospital and stuff like that. You know, I mean, this dude's changed, and I think it freaked him out so much he's having a hard time talking about it or coming on the show. But being trapped in that's, to me, I don't know about you, but dude, that is horrifying to me. It's like,
yeah,
I've been stuck in a false awakening just for 15 or 20 minutes trying to wake up from a crazy dream. I can't imagine 2 weeks of it.
Right. Well, I've had that a lot. I've had a lot where I dream and I know I'm dreaming. It's like I don't know what you want to call it, in between a lucid dream and a regular dream, where I know I'm dreaming, but I can't, at the same time, I can't wake up and it's like I'm a third party to the dream, where I'm still trapped in there and everything that's happening is just happening. And even I don't want it to happen, it's still happening and I can't wake up. So I don't know what that is either.
What do you think? Do you think that your consciousness belongs to you? When I say belongs, I don't mean as a possession. I don't want you to look at it that way. But the person that is, this is Dutchy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the person that's Dutchy, that the consciousness that you experience belongs to you. Like, not like a wallet.
I am I.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I am I.
You do think that?
So, well, I think it's a part of somatics, a part of, words. Mm-hmm. And it's like when we're little, the first thing it's not, because when you're first born, I mean, a lot of people remember like their favorite toy or their favorite blanket, but it's really when you become, and you talk to like a child development person, is when I becomes I. So they recognize that they're individual, because at first it isn't that way. Okay. So it's a weird thing. And so to be conscious, is that to be conscious, that you recognize that I am I, or I am myself, right? That's how psychologists look at it. Once you recognize that.
It's a trippy thought to think about, because what I'm saying is that what if you came to this earth and you woke up and there was no one around but you? And let's just say, as an example, you managed to survive your childhood. You figured out sleep, food, water, shelter as a child. Somehow or another you survived. But there is no one else to communicate, touch, feel, talk to, validate, nothing. Let's just say that happens to you, okay? You don't even know what language is. You're not taught anything. Then what? Does your consciousness belong to you?
Well, let's look at like these weird cases of like Wolf Boy or like Jungle Boy or
Jungle Boy. What are you talking about, dude? What is that?
Well, no, these children that were like abandoned in the woods and raised by apes and or wolves and stuff, and they identify with the pack of wolves, and they start howling like wolves and all that. I think it becomes a very hard thing, and it's I don't even know how to say it. It's all I really can say is at some point you identify that I'm me. I'm not the countertop. I'm not you. I am me. When my finger gets smashed,
I'm not the countertop. That's
do.
Good. Yeah, I got you.
Well, no, I just, you're identifying as something, right? And so, I mean, I guess that's a good way to say it. If you get trapped in the wood, or somebody throws you in the woods and now you're with a pack of dogs or wolves or something, you identify as a dog, okay? Because this has happened before. And so now and if you were by yourself, I'm not sure what would happen. If you were totally by yourself without any animals around, because I think through time, and I see this a lot, or I recognize it, that other humans learn a lot from animals and identify it with them. If you have absolutely nothing around, I don't know what would happen. I don't know if you would go insane. I don't know if you'd necessarily go insane, but at some point you would identify that you're yourself because of pain, because that's the primary motives here, or pain. The first things that a person, a human, goes through is pleasure and pain.
Right,
pleasure.
Okay. I'll agree with that.
Pain or affection. Affection with your mother. That these are like pretty basic psychological things, but and so if you didn't have any of that, and they've studied this crap through cruel experiments, but I don't know. Usually these people turn out very badly.
Well,
but most of the time they say
I get what you're
from
saying.
lack of caring and lack of love.
Right.
And, this is where this thing came from, that everybody needs love or some sort of love.
But how did you get your name? Your name isn't Dutchie. That's your nickname, right? How did you get your name?
Well,
your identity.
I picked it.
You picked your own name, Dutchie, right? So,
yeah.
But the name that you really have, that you were born with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How did you get that name?
Well, just like everyone else.
Sure. So you never said, you never told anybody, just like I never told anybody, hey, my name is Joseph Daniel Roop. No, the collective, the people that were there when I came into the world, the mirror, not me, gave me my name. And now my name means all these special things, right? Now, I'm not taking away from the specialness of who you are, not at all. In fact, I'm kind of saying that it is because of everybody else, right? So if you came into this world knowing nothing, and you could tell when a baby's born because they're like, what the hell is this? They're trying to figure out what the body is. They're scratching themselves, they're in total shock. And then a person that's been here for a while, that's been in this collective conscious place, they pick you up, your mother, your father, and they know in their heart what to name you for some reason. They get a vibe, or they discuss it with each other until they come to a common agreement, however you got the name.
Right.
So everything about you and what you say and who you say you are comes from the collective. It comes from the tribe. It comes from the group.
Mm-hmm.
And everything of how you define yourself, you learn those definitions from the mirror, from the people outside of you. Otherwise, you would have came here by yourself. You'd have created your own grunt language. You would have figured out what food is. You would have named everything else, which is kind of the theory of God, because God's alone, so to speak.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep. No, I understand totally, and I agree with you.
So if consciousness doesn't belong to us, okay, not in that sense, it's a part of us, just doesn't belong to us, okay, then what does it mean to be enlightened? What does it mean when people say, don't do anything that doesn't serve you? Well, if I'm serving others, then I'm serving myself, and vice versa.
Well, there's two thoughts there. If somebody says, don't do anything that doesn't serve you, that, to me, that's kind of counterintuitive to being enlightened.
Exactly, yeah.
But if you're going to be enlightened, I mean, a very simplistic thing would be to realize that I am separate from everything else, right? That if we want to go down to the basic level, it would be that I am separate and I can do what I want, or I can explore what I want. I'm not part of something else, right?
Is that what you're saying that you are? I'm confused as what you're actually saying.
No, to be enlightened. The basic meaning of to be enlightened. If you want to go down to the basic thing, right? We're not a collective group of ants, right? If one ant went off on his own and decided I am, he discovered that I am me or whatever, and he became enlightened and he went away from the collective, or a bee, right? Because they're a collective also. Then you could sort of say they became enlightened because they moved away from the collective.
Yeah, or are you saying because they moved away from the collective, they realized that they were in an individual experience?
Right. Yeah, exactly. They're an individual. Once you realize that you're an individual, a person could say that they became enlightened.
Huh.
Because
maybe that's the whole desert thing, right?
Right.
When you read those books and they say
once you have your own,
Jesus went to the desert, or they so and so went into the desert, so to speak.
I don't know. I guess I wasn't really saying that, but I was more, once you have your own thoughts, then you're enlightened, instead of, nowadays they'd say like that group mentality, right? Once you step outside of that, you say, think for yourself. That's a good one. Once you start to think for yourself, then you're enlightened.
Yeah, but here's what I'm saying. I get what you're saying, and I don't want to get polar about this, because eventually we'll realize we're saying the same thing. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a contrarian, right? I do agree with people. So here's the thing.
Okay.
Like, individuation is an experience. We wouldn't be able to define anything that we are defining now without the group defining things for us. That's our language, animals, anything we point at and say, this is this. Even our names, right? I am this, my name is so-and-so, right? But the true awareness is I am that I am. Means you really don't have a name. You are in an individual experience, a part of the great I am. Okay? That's really kind of what like the enlightenment is. But without the consciousness that you're here in your body experiencing, does it belong to you? So for an example, you are going to live a certain amount of years as Dutchie, and then you're going to have this individual experience, which is awesome. But then once the body of Dutchie goes away, where do you go? Do you go off to a Dutchie world, a part of another thing, or do you go back to the collective I amness of everything else?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a temporary. It's kind of both, right? And so to me, that enlightenment isn't realizing that I'm an individual, and it isn't realizing that I'm a part of the collective and not an individual. And enlightenment is realizing what's happening right now. I am the individual, a part of the I am collective right now, in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
So that's taking the two polarities of rugged individualism and the individual idea and the collective. And if you think about it, it's right brain, left brain, and syncing them together. Once again, the mystery of the two in one is where the truth is. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think.
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree. Sometimes I think there's a hard time with language and certain words, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that people become confused about what it means when you're saying enlightenment, or
I think that's a weird word, right? Enlightenment.
Right. Because you can confuse enlightenment with advancement, or, like I was saying, if a 1-year-old, learns, I don't know, I can't remember what the exact age when a child learns that they're an individual, like when they hurt their finger, like you were talking, and then that's about through pain and pleasures when they learn that they're separate from their mother or separate from other people in their lives.
Yeah.
And then once you grow older and have individual thoughts, well, it's not once you, I said that wrong, but once you grow older and your thoughts start to diverge more, do you really understand that you're totally separate from someone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you really you really start to go, because you don't relate to a lot of people. The older you get, the less you relate to a lot of people too. Sometimes.
Yeah, that's the way it is. On the other hand, like our chat there about the collective unconsciousness stuff, I think it sometimes is entanglement. If you, I mean, this is kind of a weird word also, but if you like that whole thing of thinking about someone and then all of a sudden they call, or thinking, I think it's, usually it's someone you know. I wouldn't say that I don't think because I've had this, but I don't think it's ever someone that I didn't know. But it's sort of, you like jump on the same wavelength or something. I'm not sure what it is, but you sort of become entangled with that person. And then all of a sudden, you think about them and they call, right? It's a very strange thing. I won't say that it's a collective unconscious thing. I would say it's more of a entanglement type of thing, or a wavelength type of thing.
I knew a girl that I dated that one time she was going through some really tough shit, right? Like it was some personal stuff, and it was a crisis moment. And her sister called her. Her sister was on the other side of the country, and it was so crazy, man. Like it made my heart kind of flutter to even think about it. Her sister called, and she put her on speakerphone, and she was like, "What's wrong? What's going on? I can just feel like something's wrong with you." And I'm thinking, what the hell? And you know how a lot of girls are. They're like, I'm not crazy. Am I crazy? Do you think I'm crazy? And it's like, and that's what she was saying. I hope you don't think I'm crazy, but I just feel like something's going. And something was like going wrong with her, And they did know each other, but they were 1,000 miles apart. Isn't that's kind of like quantum entanglement, I would think, right?
Right. Well, that's the way I think of it. And I think that it's our, once again, what's the right word? Is it our spirit or what is it that becomes entangled with somebody else? And I don't think it's, like I said, I don't think it's necessarily, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think anyone knows, but I know that it happens.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man.
We have theories on it.
Well,
I think sometimes.
Yeah, the more I look at it like this, I loved science, man. That's why I talk about it too. Like, I know it confuses people because I don't niche down my content that I talk about to where it's this and it's not that. I'm not the guy that likes to argue. I just want to figure stuff out, right? And so when I see the neurologists and the materialists they're talking about the quantum field and microtubules and these sleep spindles showing these frequencies and stuff. And we know that the right-brained people, the woo people, have been talking about frequencies and sacred geometry and all this stuff forever, And then instead of realizing that we're all waking up, they start arguing with each other and laughing and making fun of each other. But the truth is, if you just back up as a whole and look at it all, it's like we're all kind of waking up to the same thing. Some people are more right brain, some people are more left brain, but it all is kind of a quantum entangled field. My thing that I'm talking about too tonight is when you go under anesthesia, is that like a form of cutting the switch off, so to speak? So I'm Joseph Daniel Roop in this body, this identity. And then when I go under anesthesia, it's not a dream, but they take you down almost to where you're dead. So you're just kind of breathing and they're keeping the brain alive, But does my consciousness jump somewhere else? So much so that it's playing somewhere else that I just really I won't recall it when I get back in this body, because it literally just jumped to somewhere else like the light particles do, That's what I was thinking about.
Right, and this is why go back to the original thing. Yep, and this is why I thought, if I punched you in the head. So both things are the same. You're going unconscious, right? One's with drugs, one's with violence, or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
But so in both cases, you just black out. And then, so it's a very curious question.
It is,
It begs
isn't it?
a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Well, it begs a lot of questions. It's like, well, what? I mean, you want to talk about the out of body experience. So if somebody punches you in the head and you black out, well, where do you go then?
Man,
why didn't you go anywhere? But
exactly.
Why didn't you?
Right, exactly. Like I've had out of body experiences, but I separated on purpose. Right, I've never had an OBE separation due to right, exactly. But
right, or somebody pulling you out.
Yeah, but I do know people that have separated from their body for stupid reasons, even like paint fumes. I had a guy tell me he saw himself rolling the epoxy on a swimming pool, as he left his body.
Yeah.
That's trippy. That's a trippy
but
thought.
That's different. Well, see, to me, it seems different. When I know, like, for people that have traumatic experience, like an accident of some sort, right, where they saw themselves. It wasn't they saw themselves outside of their body and they're hurt on the ground, right? But see, I think that's sort of different. It's like a shock type thing where you get shocked out of your system. But this thing where, see, what we're talking about, honestly, what we're talking about is sort of disproving out-of-body experience.
Yeah, in a way, if you look at it in a polar sense, it does. Yeah.
Well, I guess, I mean, in a reduction point of view, it's like, so if nothing happens, well, then there is nothing.
Right.
Right. Once we turn the switch off, if the switch would stay on and you'd be somewhere else, well, okay, that's something. But we just turn the switch off and you're nowhere. You went into nowhere land until we turn it back on again.
It's something to think about, man. I mean, I know people don't want to think about it because it's comforting to us to know that consciousness goes
the same
somewhere after our body dies or whatever. But if we don't really know how consciousness works, especially as how it relates to the body, we've only, in my opinion, we've only scratched the surface. It may not be a comforting thought to talk about these things, but the way I'm looking at it is the more we understand about consciousness, the more we can figure out what's really going on, the more we can prepare ourselves for what's going to happen.
Well, I don't, I'll exclude the what's going to happen thing. It's so that we can understand ourselves and understand the condition that we're in, whether the human condition, what we are, and what is life, right?
Sure. And that's
the biggest question
beautiful.
There is.
But all of us, every single one of us, have this idea that we're here to accomplish some great thing and understand ourselves on a deep level and fulfill this life purpose. And it almost feels like a built-in program to what we're doing, All of us have this bigger purpose. We have this grand idea, like we're in our own movie all the time. But the truth is 1/3 or whatever, how many of us a day are gone. I mean, you could just step on it out in the road and you're thinking you got this whole movie going on and all these plans and all this questions. And then, whack, you get hit by a bus. You're out, next. See what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it would make more sense that the specialness of it all, the divinity of it all, the purpose of it all. And I'm not taking away from the individual experience, but it's almost like it needs, like Thomas Campbell talks about, not just one story, but billions of stories. Billions of them.
Yeah. Well, see, where I'm from the point of view that it's not special, right? We all have spirits. We're all on our, and if I'm not here tomorrow, I don't think it's a great loss. Right? Because it's not like I'm totally gone. I'm just not talking to you anymore. Not here.
We would miss you, Dutchie. I'd miss you.
Haunt you. Well,
yeah. Isn't that something too? Think about that too. Like, does our consciousness really belong to us? But so like when we die, most of us,
well, we both know. Okay,
think about like we're gone, we're dead, right? But who's really hurt because we're dead? The collective, the people that were there, the people that miss us.
Right.
The individual is
but
fine.
They shouldn't though.
Yeah, it's somewhere else.
But see, okay, put it this way. If I was gone tomorrow, we both know, because we've both been out of body, I'm not gone tomorrow. Right?
Well, what I can tell you for a fact is that you, more than likely, your etheric body, the etheric conscious part of you is going to hang around for a period of time. That's all I know. I don't know that it's infinite, indefinite, or anything like that. In fact, what I've heard from a lot of people that go out of body when they talk to people that have passed on is eventually they dissipate, disappear, or gone. But I do know that part of you will exist outside your body. Yeah.
Right. They eventually move. They eventually move on to. Yeah, because people have asked me if I've seen people that I know, and no, I haven't, because it's only a certain amount of time before they realize that there's, it's like Monroe saying he's going and visiting his daughter and everything before he wants to go do something else. That's a very simplistic thing, but it equates to the same thing. There's only so much time that you want to hang out here anymore before you go on to something else. So anyway, yeah. No,
gotcha.
I lost the first part of that comment.
It's all right. I appreciate you calling in.
If I went away, yeah. All right, man. I'll get off the phone.
It's all right. All right. Bye-bye now. Does anybody have any thoughts on this besides Dutchie? Dutchie's like trying to get the conversation going in. You don't have to like. I think some people need to realize like this show isn't about being right. I don't want to. It's not here to teach you anything. We're here to explore stuff. All right. So you're not going to sound stupid or any of that stuff. Like there's no stupid questions if you call in or anything. Hearing your experiences, sharing with us is the thing that helps us all grow and helps us all figure it out. Would it boost my ego to be one of those YouTubers or influencers that everybody listens to because I'm super opinionated or I sound really intellectual or whatever the hell it is? Sure, that would boost my ego, but that's not what my heart wants, okay? My heart wants to explore this stuff with everybody else. It's more of a collective thing, Let's see. So it's 501-777-5631. AR says, I felt myself lifted approximately 5 feet above the ground whilst walking from one building to the next. I was still partially asleep. My body was on automatic. I later realized that my brain consciousness had not yet kicked in, so I experienced a brain consciousness. Okay, there you go. So what AR is saying right there is, I do think that there is a consciousness that exists outside of us. Well, it's been called the astral, the collective. Maybe there's different stages to it. That's what we're exploring, okay? But we don't talk about the connection to the body and the brain as much as I think we should on this channel. I think it's important because when you come back to like brain consciousness, in the body consciousness, there is a whole kind of separation, a whole different thing that happens, a whole different feeling of reality. And so when people are in anesthesia, for example, and I'd still love to hear your thoughts on this, like where do you go? I've dreamed, I've lucid dreamed, I've had out of body experiences, I've been drunk and still remembered stuff, I've forgotten my dreams, okay? When I dreamed, I totally forgot that I had a dream, but I do remember. It's almost like I'm like, yeah, I was doing something, I just don't remember what it was. But when I've been under anesthesia, or when I've been like Dutchie's talking about, knocked out, even though the times I've been knocked out, it was just for a few seconds or so. Wherever I went then, I have no idea, because that was, to me, was like the switch went off. almost like a light switch. Gone. So what is that? That's what I'm saying, you know. And then I start realizing that, okay, well, maybe consciousness, I hope you're smelling what I'm stepping in, okay? Maybe consciousness doesn't belong to me, or the consciousness that I think belongs to me and myself isn't really mine. It doesn't really belong to me. It individuates in this body, almost as if this body is some type of consciousness. Like, think about taking in this soup or whatever, this cosmic ectoplasmic gel, and we'll call that consciousness, and you put it in a human body and it individuates and becomes a mold, and then it starts doing its own little thing separate from the plasma, right? And if it stays in there long enough, it starts to identify with the body and all of these things. But once you shut the body off, it can come back out and be in like an OBE. It'll be in like this etheric state. But eventually it goes back to the ball of plasma. So what I'm saying is what if when we go under anesthesia or we get knocked out, that we don't do all the OBE, lucid dreaming, and all this other stuff? What if we just go back to the plasma, so to speak? That's how deep we are. And then it wakes us back up, and then we're back in the body. So we missed all that dreaming, lucidity, depending on what happens to you when you go under anesthesia. Like me personally, I've just completely blacked out. I got kicked in the head one time, completely blacked out. In a football game, I was on the punt team. I ran all the way down there, was the first one down the field. I was going to tackle the guy. He darts this way. I dart that way parallel to him to try to take a cutoff angle to tackle him, but I didn't see the blocker coming at me. And I turned around, bam, that guy knocked me out cold. Everything shrank into like a little bead of nothingness and went to black, and then it came back. So just for that split second, I wasn't out of body or lucid dreaming or anything like that. Like, where did my consciousness go, you know? And I'm kind of thinking what AR is saying here. Like, when consciousness isn't seated as you inside your mind connection, it doesn't identify as an individual. So the part of us that's scared, it's like, man, yeah, I'm blacked out. Or when we die, there's nothingness. It's not really nothingness. It's just that consciousness went back to itself. You're just not connected to the brain. I don't know, man. I don't know. And I think sometimes, like, when we talk about enlightenment, that part of that enlightenment is just understanding how collective consciousness really is. That the whole reason of you being this individual is so that you can reflect back to others. Again, you wouldn't have your name if others didn't give it to you. You wouldn't know what love even means if others didn't show it to you. If you didn't experience it with other people, you wouldn't know what any of this stuff is without relation or a group to relate to. You know, me, Bob, and her, Sheila, even romantic relate. You wouldn't know any of that stuff. You wouldn't identify. You wouldn't know what serves your highest good and all this other stuff. If it wasn't for everything and everybody else, you wouldn't even know how to identify it. You'd just know, man, when stuff like this happens, I feel this weird thing inside me. You wouldn't even know what to call it. Something to ponder on. One more small break here, like 2-3 minutes. And then if you guys want to call in or chime in, I really want to know what your woe experiences are with this stuff. You know, if you've had like an experience when it comes to anesthesia or being knocked out, blacked out, and you actually did go somewhere, help me here. Help me with this as we explore consciousness. It's one hell of a subject. We'll be right back.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm going to take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
This is Barbara Charlton from Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years. Who do you talk to? You can't go to conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques or tapping to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping does. It neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe the results.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Now, broadcasting from the Forest Tower Studios, all the way from the Deep South. Now, here's your host, Joe Roop.
Man, I miss Alex X. I'm going to have to give him a call, see what he's doing. All right, so we're getting towards the end of the broadcast here tonight. Remember, we broadcast Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays live here. I like to do it live too because I hate editing, video editing too. It's fun to watch videos and listen to everything put together, but it takes so much time putting it all together. So I take the risk every night I do this being live, which means when people call, we're not screening them. When I say something, I didn't cut out all the stuff that makes me look bad. But it's all genuine. It's all authentic. And that's the way we like it. Eventually, I'm going to have to start putting clips up, though. I'm trying to learn how to edit video better. So if you can support the broadcast, please do so. And thank you to all of you guys that have. I'm going to try to keep updating those sheets a little bit better. So it always show like the last 30 days of everybody here that's helped. Last 30, I want to say to 60 days. So here's the thing. This study that we're talking about. Last night we talked about sleep spindles. Now I didn't go deep into it because I think it's kind of boring when you can just look up the articles yourself. But all you got to do is Google 2024's anesthesia studies. Google that. Okay, there are clues to consciousness being a quantum thing, or some of them are saying, the materialists are saying, it's a social trick. It's actually a big debate right now. But that kind of made me really think, does your consciousness belong to you, or does it belong to anything? It's just part of this soup, okay? So maybe we're all entangled physically and socially. And I say physically, and I think tomorrow night I'll get deeper into this, not just on a cosmic consciousness level, but also physically too. When you look at it on a subatomic level, and when you get into this whole holographic universe and the microtubule things. So it's never just, and usually you'll find the truth in the void right here, the mystery of the two in one. It's never this, it's never that. The truth, or the closest thing to it, is usually somewhere in the middle. So I do believe at this point that we are all entangled, not just consciously, but physically on a subatomic level too, physically and socially, in a whole freaking universe that it's obvious that it's awake. Now, you and I can't explore space. All we can do is look at pictures and look through telescopes and hope that whoever's sending us those pictures of whatever's out there is real. But we can observe nature. And when we observe nature here on the earth, everything seems to be awake and entangled. It just does. It's so crazy how true Manly P. Hall was when he started talking about everything that you need to know about the, quote, mysteries is in nature. And, this is why when we go in nature, we have all these downloads, because our consciousness kind of sees it all and how it all works. We could focus on plants, we could focus on animals, and we could see all of this stuff with our own eyes. So next time that you feel like a stranger stare, or you feel somebody staring at you, you get that weird feeling like, is this person staring at me? I can feel them staring at me. Ask yourself, it's still a little creepy, but is that a quantum thing, or is that a social thing, or is it both? I know that's weird, but what I'm saying is maybe we're never alone. And I know my audience and a lot of us that come to this broadcast now, in the past and in the future, will be people that feel on some level that they're alone, and that they'll have these bigger questions because they're awake and adult and aware enough to ask these bigger questions because they feel alone. But maybe we never are, even when we think that we are. You can always call into the broadcast too at 501-777-5631. You don't have to just call into the show. You can leave a voicemail. You can join the Discord. We like to chat and hang out in there too, and BS it up and drop files and links and stuff like that. But yeah, I will say that this gets even trippier. I know this seems like something deep, right? But this, what I'm talking about, is the surface level of investigation of what's really going on. I started listening to Thomas Campbell's My Big Theory of Everything again. There's so much stuff in there. It's pretty long and it's extensive. There is quite a bit of experiential evidence to show that we are in some kind of virtual reality, that what we think is physical isn't really physical. But at the same time, I think it all is saying the same thing. So on a cellular level, if you look at the microscopic, as small as we can see, subatomically, it all looks like soup. It's all working together. And the universe, okay, when we look out into the universe, we see the stars and the galaxies and the cosmos and the cloud nebulas and all these things. They're kind of separate, but they're all out in space, and it's all part of this one big thing. So why is it that here on the earth, on this, like what Carl Sagan called this tiny blue dot, this tiny blue speck in the cosmos, when we sink all the way down into these lands, and then all these little people from that point of view look like ants, why do we think that our consciousness just belongs to us. Like it's us, it's individual, even though it kind of is, you know, like when in this experience, right? And an even bigger question, and then I will roll out of here tonight. I just wanted to recap with you too, real quick. An even bigger question would be, what does it mean, like, when you follow all of these spiritual gurus and you read all these things and they tell you, don't do anything that doesn't serve you? Like, are you talking about your higher self? Because if you're talking about the true self, the self that Carl Jung is talking about, the individual person that you are during this brief experience, yeah, you definitely should, in my opinion, authentically experience those things while you're here, because you don't get much time. But if you're going to do things that really serve you, and you realize that you are everything else, then who are you really serving? Because as much as you feel separate from all of us, and I know you do because I've talked to you, the truth is you're not. And you're never alone, right? I don't think you're alone. Yeah. So we're not going to get, someone messaged me yesterday and asked if I was going to finish the book, that last book, Explorations in Consciousness. Man, I will say that I want you guys to read this book. It is freaking amazing. It's not as good as Monroe's, I hate to even say it like that, because that makes me, I'm not relating good or bad. It doesn't intrigue me as much as Robert Monroe's books do, his trilogy does. But this, the last book that we read, okay, Explorations in Consciousness, and I can't find it to come back up with the author's name, but it's Frederick Ardima. That's what his name was. Hell yeah. So I got some recall there. I've been losing that, so that's good. Ardima. So I think it's Aardema. That book, from front to back, from beginning to end, is one of the most fascinating books on explorations in consciousness. It has no woo. It has nothing where this person is trying to influence you in any kind of spiritual way or even philosophic way. It's all just what I love the most, conscious exploration and the results coming back, okay? Let's go to the chat before we roll out of here and see what's up. What's up with you guys? Okay. Eba says, people who are in the astral, not stuck on the earth plane as a ghost bound by trauma. Pick up the Bible and randomly flip to a page. It's a hoot, I swear. Yeah, I do that sometimes. Let's see. AR says, consciousness becomes attached to earth things. What can I say? Sometimes we don't want to leave whether person, place, or thing. Maybe consciousness wants to be alive too, though, like we are. A lot of OB ears have talked about how they create their own little communities in the astral. Some don't know they're dead, but many do. But then Tom Campbell says no personality exists after death and just gets absorbed back into the LCS, which is the larger consciousness system. Iblis says it's all fun and games till the alphabet soup spells out Jesus saves. Yeah, does it? Thanks for your call, Dutchie. Don't start feeling weird like you'd like. I love when you call in, brother. As above, so below, as within, so without. On that, we agree. We'll be back tomorrow night. So tomorrow night, I want to get into a little bit deeper discussions as to, we've talked about the theory. So let's get into some experiences, okay, that either prove or disprove. So we'll do a little bit more story time tomorrow night. But I wanted to kick off this week with the study of spindles, the anesthesia stuff, the whole quantum thing, and then where does our consciousness actually reside? In us? Or is it really just everybody? And the in us part is just some kind of brief experience. I love you guys. Night night, y'all. Sweet dreams. See you tomorrow night.
make it a habit calling me that.